Okay, so
Let me make sure that.
you want me to turn that on as well? You want me to turn that mic on as well?
Well, we want to. I mean, we want to be able to feed the gym rat in.
Feed the gym rat. All right.
You know, into the so we can hear it on the live stream.
All right.
That whole thing that we that
Oh.
workaround, that whole workaround thing that we do.
Oh, I think I can see the reason why there's no gym rat in the others.
Yeah, that's why we've been trying to feed it into the live stream.
Yeah, I noticed the other videos that don't have that. Not like now, but yeah, I just noticed.
Yeah, that's been the problem.
Mhm.
Emailed,
Look, the
I
tab.
emailed you some news stories.
Okay, we figured it out. So we're gonna do it. It's fine.
Also, I said it a gym rant about the kids getting away from it. It's a newer version.
Yeah, he did a really good gym rat.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And
What's it on?
It's marijuana about marijuana and keeping away from kids, and
Okay.
not the one he's already done, but also talking about how, like, hey, we should also care about keeping
and it's
sex
it's
traffickers
complete-
away from kids.
Okay, so he gets into the whole that.
But it's about family, about caring
Okay,
for the kids.
perfect.
Yeah, it's
Perfect for what we're
And
doing
Seth,
today.
it was like 3:30, and Seth edited it to exactly 2:30.
Okay,
I
thank
gave him
you.
a challenge as last time. He did it so perfectly.
I know. Thank you.
Great show. Thanks for coming on short notice.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
It's always hard when someone leaves and they don't give us a replacement. So it was
Yeah. She's like, I would hate to just not have anything, and I'm like, it's fine.
I'm glad you were free. So this is the mic for the gym ran, which we're gonna have it on, but it can't. No, it shouldn't be on because if it's on the music, we're gonna live stream. It has to be on after the music, before the gym ran.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
yeah. That makes sense. If you know, I'm an intern here. It's gonna be my last day because we're
Oh.
gonna be graduating. Because I'm gonna be graduating.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kelly, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Pleasure to meet you too.
Thanks. So I'm gonna be running the soundboard.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. So I normally do that, and I normally just try to get you live on Facebook and YouTube, and we also put the audio file into Spotify.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
After we're done, we edit up the podcast and put it out on podcast platforms so that you can go listen.
Cool.
And then, but right now we are actually live, and we do live streams. So if you want to say, hey, if you want to take a Facebook photo and be, hey, everybody, go on the show, tune in. Can if you want.
Okay.
If you want people to know, but
We're about down to like 2 minutes left, approximately,
cool.
until 3. So there's gonna be some time with that, but I'm gonna giving the host some signals, like a minute or any of the minutes.
Yeah.
And then a 30 second and 10 second. I'm doing countdown of the seconds, 1 second early, before the 1 minute.
Awesome. Okay.
I like a bunch of
Let's get this going.
This will be fun without. You have these other lights on. Charlie, can I get you any water?
You know what? I have water, but I should get it near me.
Okay, cool. You got
Thank
plenty?
you. Yeah, I do.
Okay, awesome. And I don't know if you got any coffee earlier, but I can also get you coffee
No,
sometime.
I'm all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what? Okay. Are we in the news break?
No, I don't think so. Yes, I know.
Oh.
When I put this in, I don't think it wanted to reformat. So I don't know.
What?
No, I already did it.
You already did the trick.
I didn't move it. Seriously, did I?
Oh, it was absolutely moved.
Okay.
Or it fell back. Maybe it fell back.
So it looks like Matt's left his lights on, so I'm thinking just to leave them on, not use ours. Just go lighting, unless you want to.
Yeah, I like more lighting. Okay, close the door, please. We're lighting the butter. Okay, we got one more. Okay. Welcome to our craziness. Of live broadcasting. Okay, so overall, really good talk radio is like listening into a good conversation at a coffee shop. Like it's voyeuristic, it's interesting. People are passionate. Maybe they're arguing or whatever, but it's listening in to, people having sort of a good time and talking about it.
Yep.
And because because it's just voice, it shrinks you. So we're a little over the top, and that's our radio thing because it ends up shrinking down. Also, you got to vocalize all emotion. So if you're happy or it's like everything has to come through the voice.
Okay.
And then I'll talk about time cues when we get to the commercial. But this is the universal wrap it up. So
Okay.
you have 10 or 15 seconds, finish your thought, get it back to me because I got to get to the next question or commercial.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
ready? Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
Let's do this. Hope that woke you up. Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to us on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer across the entire Pikes Peak region here on Salem, Colorado Springs, part of the Salem Network that we're here. So happy to be here. So happy to be part of the community. So happy to be local. Because I don't know if you know this, but maybe you've noticed it, but everything's pulling back to national. Radio, TV, everybody wants to do it because why? Economies of scale. It's hard to do local. It's expensive to do local. But how are you going to be part of the community if you're not? And so we're so happy to be here in the middle of the dial. Great national hosts here on Salem, but from 3 to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursdays, you get the hyper local story. And that gives us a chance to focus in on the things that you can really take action on. To me, outside of El Paso County, I sort of feel powerless to get anything done. But within our county, within our city, maybe you're a little bit bigger. Maybe you're a state person. But when we get all caught up on what's going on the federal government and everything, to me, that's a big distraction. I can't action that information. I can just be happy about it, usually not happy about it. But what good is that? It's so frustrating. And so we're here overall to do what media is supposed to do, which is not to make up your mind for you, not tell you how to think, but to inform you, give you good, solid information from people who know what they're talking about, put it in context, and then you can decide, do I agree with that? Do I not agree with that? What do I want to do with that regarding my family, my business, my community? And so today we cover on Wednesdays, we call it Faith and Family Wednesday, and this is our day for covering those things that are really in most people's lives, the most important things, and yet we never focus on them, right? We're always talking about politics or business because it's, it's sort of sexy and it's what's going on and it's exciting. But really on a day-to-day basis, all of us are dealing with, what do we believe and how are we raising our families? And so we want to bring you that information today too. And we have with us as our guest today, Kelly Hurtado, who is the COO. That's Chief Operating Officer. I'm getting that right. Yes. Okay. I know my corporate titles there, my C-suite titles of Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families, a local organization that centers on empowering individuals to advance a safe, healthy, and flourishing community. And I know that's really general. We're going to get into a lot of the specifics about this organization, Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families, as we go. Kelly Hurtado, thanks so much for being on the Peak.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you here. And so what are we talking about today? Well, Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families focuses in on helping our families and our youth. And they're very much focused on, well, are we getting proper services to families? Are families being served, across the whole spectrum of the community. So this is something that will most likely affect you, what we're talking about today. Somewhere, somehow, there are programs going on in this city, and whether they're private or whether they're government, they absolutely affect us, and they affect, tax money. Also, where does tax money get spent? And so we're going to be going into those issues and learning about this great organization during the program. I want to do a shout out to another very, very important group that I'm learning more about, because when you come on the air and you do radio like this, of course you need sponsors. And very often we think of sponsors as just, hey, they're the people, they're advertising, they pay the bills. But really, there are partners here on the Peak. They're the ones, yes, who allow us to buy the airtime from Salem and do this independent show. Salem loves what we do, but it is an independent show. Citizen journalist, you can be part of it. That's a whole other thing I'll talk about later. If you don't know, we'd love you to come down and be part of actually producing the program. But our advertisers, our sponsors, are small businesses, no big corporations here, small businesses that believe we need the media to be back in the hands of the people, that we need to be saying the quiet stuff out loud. And they are also doing that with their businesses. Business people are very, very important for our communities because they're leaders and they care and they pay attention to the market forces and other things that are going on. And so on this Faith and Family Day, I want to thank the family of sponsors that are here. You'll hear their commercials during the breaks. You can get on our website, thepeak.news, hot links right to their site. And I would ask you to support them because they're supporting the Peak, which means they're supporting you. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. Happy to have you here on the Peak on Faith and Family Wednesday. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Kelly Hurtado during our headline segment about cuts to social services that are having an impact here in our region. We'll be right back. Cool. Okay. I forgot to ask you about the theme, so I sort of made it up, but I was sort of making some stuff up. But overall, is that like, if you were to pick a theme, is it, what would you say it is? Like an overriding theme for what we're doing here
The power
today?
of community to create the change that we need
Okay.
to see.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay. I sort of said
That was
that.
wonderful.
But now I'll say it specifically like that
Okay.
to make the change. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I gave you that time cue, talked about that. When we get to the monologue in the next segment, you'll have about 4 minutes. So I'll give you 3, 2, 1, and this means 30 seconds because a wrap it up is not enough time to think about your final chapter. So I'll give you a final 30. If you fall short, I'll ask a follow-up, but try to take the space.
Okay.
And again, keep your energy up, and just the more passion you push out, the more engaged people will be.
Okay.
So I think I covered everything. Is that any questions
Yep.
or thoughts?
Nope.
Or?
That sounds great.
I love radio because we can make quick changes and we create everything through voice, but it's its own special communication way of doing it in a way. I never want to sound like just a normal community, boring, flat show, which is why every segment of the show is actually a different type of communication modality. You know, we move from talking about the news to a monologue to an interview to a mini interview, and it just, I don't know if people realize it, but the guests, it's challenging to the guests, and we get to meet them more because I challenge them in different areas. Not that standard, who are you, what do you do, thank you very much. I don't want that. I want, because it's more about meeting you as a member of the community than even your organization, because who knows where you'll end up and what you're doing and everything. So that's sort of our crazy plan here that we're doing, is reinventing media and trying to put trust back in by making it so local that people go, oh, I know that person, because we've lost faith in the media, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous if everybody's like, I can't believe anything. It's like, well, it's going to be hard to run your life if everything that you don't know what to believe, right? So
for sure.
So
Connections are important.
So overall, that's our big experiment here.
I love it.
And we have other reporters. I put guest hosts in the chair here, which is strange too. People say no, people tune in for you. I'm like, no, maybe they do, but I can't have that in the long term. The celebrity news person is not.
Yeah.
It's failed us because then we end up believing them even when they're not saying the truth.
True.
So I want the show to carry itself, and that's
Okay. Yep.
so. Anyway,
That makes sense.
give you that summary of our grand experiment, and we're going to be teaching broadcast journalism in the D11 school district starting in the fall and plugging it into an internship here. So
Oh.
if you want to tell your people, it's going to be for juniors, seniors, can be homeschoolers, can be, how education works here. You don't have to be in the district.
Yeah.
So we were invited by Michael Gall of D11 to put this together, and they're going to build a radio studio at Wasson campus, so we don't have to bring everybody back here. We can broadcast from there. So
Yeah.
so that's been I got to get the curriculum together, but
I love that.
but Seth is in there. Seth's one of our interns. This is last day. He's graduating, but
That's
yeah.
cool. Awesome.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. And, sometimes in our communities we do have dirty laundry, but that's not what the media is supposed to be focused on. But sometimes we have to talk about the hard issues because there are hard issues. Until just a week ago, obviously, we had no gangs, no drugs, no illegal aliens, nothing. It's Camelot. It's Camelot here in Colorado Springs, isn't it? It only blizzards at night is what we say. No, obviously, we're a big city. We're a big region. And we're developing bigger problems than we really want. But if we don't deal with them, if we don't admit that they're there and deal with them, and guess what? They're not going to get better. They're only going to get worse. And so we bring these things out, not to sensationalize and not to complain, but to say, folks, as a community, we need to step up. And one of the great things here, it's funny. I don't know if you know this, there's lots of nonprofits here in the Springs. There's 5,000 registered nonprofits in the Springs. In fact, we have one, the Peak News Educational Foundation. I'm going to be talking about that later on in the program, the things that we're doing to raise up a new generation of ethical, integrous, professional journalists here and have them be part of what we're doing. But the problem with having, the problem with having all the nonprofits is when you're a nonprofit, everybody's asking for money all the time. But the great thing is, and what it proves about Colorado Springs, is we believe in private initiatives. We're not turning to the government for things. And so as money starts to, come out of the system, and I think it's good. I mean, I'd rather be taxed less and decide that I want to give my money to this initiative or organization than have the government do it, is I believe that Colorado Springs is more prepared than most cities to step up with the fact that there's been a $1 billion budget shortfall in the latest budget, even though the budget went up. So I guess that means they were trying to add programs, but also with these DOGE cuts or Dodge or however we're supposed to pronounce it, I believe that they'll be corrected. I believe that, but right, that they'll be adjusted. But right now it was all about, how can we make a statement and start cutting things? And they even admit we're making mistakes, but it's been so out of control. We need to. But what does that mean here? And we're going to be talking about that over the course of the program. And we have as our guest today and co-host of the show, Kelly Hurtado, COO of Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families. And in this headline segment, we're going to be talking about cuts in social service programs that are impacting our area. So Kelly, again, thanks so much for being on the Peak.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So overall, we'll get into some specifics, some of the bigger programs, but what are you seeing happen as somebody that works in this area that depends on these types of monies coming in? What are you seeing? What's the trend?
Yeah, right now we're seeing a lot of action both at the federal and the state level, just to create efficiencies in systems. And what that is doing is creating organizations to really pause, right? And walk carefully forward instead of moving forward with full steam. And so we're seeing Health and Human Services, budgets really being cut. And right now, I'm happy to say that there has been a lot of talk with little actual cut, but the conversations that are happening are extremely frightening.
So I mean, what percentages are we talking about? You know,
Well, it's interesting. I'll just say, a lot of the money that comes to this from the state to local communities actually starts federally, right? And so I think sometimes people don't understand that when we're talking about federal money, we could also be talking about state programs as well. And so some of those programs are up to 70% federally funded.
okay.
And so organizationally, nonprofits are looking at, could it be a 30% cut? And we're hearing that this year may not be the year to worry, but next year is going to be really rough. So there's a lot of planning taking place, and really highlights the importance of having local funding structures and initiatives to ensure stability.
To take care of our own here.
Exactly.
So let's talk about a couple of the major programs that you're seeing that are being cut or maybe cut. The Head Start program. Tell us about that. I think we've all heard of it, but what does the Head Start program do?
Yeah, so the Head Start program was started in 1960. It's a federal program that really is bringing early childhood education and comprehensive programming along with that early childhood education to solidify a strong start for children and their families. So, absolutely, there's preschool programming that happens with that. There's also nutrition programs, there's support for families to help them, join the workforce. It's really this holistic program. And right now, federally, there's a lot of conversation about the potential of that program being cut. What that would mean locally is that we would lose 1,000 early childhood spots for children who are qualifying as the neediest of the needy. That may be income based, that may be that there's some sort of special need for the child, but those are our most vulnerable children and families. And to have that programming cut would be devastating.
Do you know why they're talking about making those cuts?
I think it's there's a lack of alignment with some of or a perceived lack of alignment with some of the federal goals, and so that's why it is potentially on the.
I think I think all the educational programs are getting looked at because there's a feeling, at least among conservatives, and that's the base of who listens to our station, that DEI and other types of things that are not frontline educational have crept in and might be using the money in ways that weren't intended.
Right.
So hopefully this will get evaluated quickly and settled out, and the money will get to the children. I don't think anybody wants to keep it from the children.
Right.
They're just trying to figure out where all the money went and actually get more to the children as we get down the line. So let's be hopeful on that. And by the way, let's pressure regardless of what side. Let's not make this partisan. Let's actually be honest about the fact that, yes, government on either side has gotten very large, and that people get in there and it's become unmanageable. And there are good claims on both sides. But I would my commentary on this is let's get it cleaned up so we can make it more efficient and have the money go where it's supposed to. So what about Colorado Child Care Assistance Program?
So there's been some national increases in some of the expectation around these programs, which are costly to implement. So across the state of Colorado and in our own community, we have started to see freezes on the Child Care Assistance Program. And so what that means is that families who currently have access to this assistance will continue to have access, but as they roll off of that support, their children age out of it, nobody new can come in until that budget gets evened out to where it needs to be. And it's not all that temporary. We're hearing locally that it could be a minimum of 2 years to get that right-sided.
And is this also federal money flowing in through, or is it all
It's
state
a combination of monies.
Okay. And what are some of the services the prime services that are given through this assistance?
It's allowing access to early childhood programs. So childcare starting, from 6 weeks on up is really what's being funded, which is allowing parents to be able to be in the workforce.
And is that public, or can the money be given to people for private, or is it programs that are specifically within the schools or things that are state controlled?
Right. So it's, early childhood programs can sign up to become part of the child care assistance program. And so
Okay.
it can be a variety of different programs, even some in-home licensed programs.
Okay, so this is something also that maybe the Chamber of Commerce and others would be interested in because this affects the workforce.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
and what you're saying is they're not going to allow new people to come into it.
Right.
They're going to let it age out
Right.
and then see what
Exactly.
happens.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we've established issues here during the headlines segment. During the rest of the program, we're going to be, well, talking about, the issues a little bit more, but also the solutions and how we can come together as a region in order to solve them. Folks, I don't think any of us want to be dependent on the government. Because what the government gives, the government taketh away. And so this is really at the core of us being a community. And that's what we're talking about here today, the power of community and making the change here on the Peak. We'll be right back. Okay, awesome. Okay, very good. I know I threw some new things at you. So I'll introduce the crucial first 5 years of brain development. Okay, and so I guess I'll just introduce this of how important these programs are, or is this nutritional, or what are you getting in?
So what I just want to talk about, in the first 5 years, 90% of the brain is developed.
Mhm.
And so what happens in that period of time is extremely important. And the quality of what happens during that time is important, right?
Okay.
Kind of setting the stage for why you should care about a lack of childcare.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. And just a note, you're umming a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know. I don't want to throw you off, but to get over that, which I've had to learn how to do.
Yes.
I was more of an person than an person, but is to not feel the need to fill the space. So if you want to be silent,
Pause.
just be silent. It's
Okay.
it's okay.
All right.
Now on radio, how okay it is, it's not like standing
Yes.
in front of people. We talk about seconds, here, but feel free to pauses are okay.
Okay.
And don't get self-conscious about it because we all do it. But I was just noticing most people don't notice they're doing it. So
Yeah.
I've made you a little aware of it.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
But otherwise, your presentation's been great. And I like what's going on. So again, this is a monologue. I don't break in
Okay.
unless you show that you're done and we have a little time left.
Okay.
But otherwise,
All right.
fill it up. Okay. Great. Okay, I got a minute and a half. There we go. There's. Okay, this is the last commercial. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, and our answer to the musical question is no. We don't do that. We're here to give you good information so that you can live your life. And we'd like to invite you to be part of this, because the more that we broad base the information, the more we can keep anybody from, getting in the mix and really being deceptive, which the news has become so much. So join us here as a citizen journalist or other positions that we have here. We'd love to have you in the mix. Go to thepeak.news for more information and sign up on our citizen journalist page. Well, today here on The Peak, it's Faith and Family Wednesday, and we're talking about solving issues in the community, especially in regard to children and families. And our guest is Kelly Hurtado, COO of Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families. And in this segment, Kelly is talking about the crucial first 5 years of brain development. Kelly Hurtado.
When we think about child development, we often focus on milestones, first steps, first words, starting school. But long before any of that, something even more extraordinary is happening: the development of the human brain. In fact, the first 5 years of life are the most critical period for brain growth and development. During this time, a child's brain forms more than 1 million neural connections every second. That's a pace that will never be matched again in their lifetime. From birth to age 5, the brain undergoes rapid changes that lay the foundation for learning, behavior, and health throughout life. In these early years, the brain is remarkably plastic. It adapts quickly to new experiences, learning from interactions with caregivers, the environment, even subtle emotional cues. This is when the architecture of the brain is being built, and like any structure, the quality of that foundation matters. One of the most striking findings in neuroscience is how early experiences shape brain architecture. Positive interactions, such as being spoken to, cuddled, read to, and responded to with warmth and consistency, stimulates healthy brain development. These experiences reinforce neural pathways that support language, emotional regulation, and problem solving. Conversely, neglect, chronic stress, or lack of stimulation can disrupt this process, weakening the brain's structural framework and potentially leading to long-term difficulties in learning, behavior, and mental health. Nutrition also plays a powerful role. A developing brain requires essential nutrients, including proteins, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals, to grow and function properly. Malnutrition during this sensitive period can impair cognitive development, delay motor skills, and lead to lower IQ scores later in life. Similarly, sleep and physical safety are essential as well. Without them, the brain simply can't process or retain information effectively. But perhaps one of the most powerful influences on early brain development is relationships. When a baby cries and a caregiver responds with comfort, the child begins to form secure attachments. These emotional bonds are more than just heartwarming. They teach the brain how to interpret social cues, manage stress, and build resilience. Children who develop secure attachments are more likely to succeed in school, form healthy relationships, and manage challenges later in life. So investing in early childhood isn't just a matter of personal parenting, it's a societal priority. Decades of research, including work by Nobel laureate economist James Heckman, shows that high-quality early childhood programs yield substantial long-term benefits, such as better educational outcomes, higher earnings, and lower rates of crime and chronic illness. Every dollar invested in early childhood development returns many more in future social and economic gains. So in short, the first 5 years of life are not just a prelude to early learning. They are the most important time of all. The brain is developing faster than it ever will again, and what happens during this window has lasting effects. If we want to raise thriving, capable, and compassionate individuals, then we must start at the beginning by nurturing the minds of our youngest children when they are growing the fastest and absorbing the most.
Excellent. So, parents, we need to be more involved. We need to understand that those brains are learning from the very beginning, and to spend more time with our children and having the community that can help us too, because I know I have 6 children. It can get overwhelming. Absolutely. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. We're here with Kelly Hurtado of Joint Initiatives for Youth. And when we come back, we're going to be learning a lot more about this organization. Oh, your timing was perfect. You landed it exactly at the. That was really good, especially since you had to get through a specific amount of content. So.
Yeah.
But that was good. Hey, we could tell you were reading, but it was a good read.
Okay.
Like there's always a difference, but sometimes it's awkward. But you were reading it in a way that was really good. So I just want to encourage you on that, because that's hard to do. It's hard to. You can't try to fake that you're reading because it's too well written to be spoken. But a lot of times it's very static. It's very staid. So,
Yeah.
So it was good, and you kept it up the whole time. But just say we brought your volume up a little bit, but try to stay. I know you had to sit back a little bit, but
Okay.
the pickup pattern's really close. It's just like two inches.
Okay.
So try to stay on top of it more, that you don't have to look at your notes. Okay,
Yeah.
we're on page 4. So these are the questions, if you'd like to review them.
Yep.
And again, you'll have about 2 or 2.5 minutes. If you see me like hold up a finger, I'm giving you a budget, like saying, hey, take about another minute for this.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be exact, but that way we can pace through the content. And I always try to leave like 2 minutes at the end to really get into the organization programs and stuff.
Okay.
So, yes. Yeah, it's been really good. Oh, I never even noticed that you you can wear them, but you can hear it. You can, if you like, I never even noticed. Okay. So Zach, I actually have push button here on segment 5. So hopefully I'll remember to hit that one, and we're set up for that. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, because that's where I look right before. If I haven't done it at the beginning, I'll do it by the time Jim comes up. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to The Answer, AM 1460 and FM 101.1. And today is Faith and Family Day. And as we basically always do, challenging you to be more involved in our community, and to, if this is a topic, that we should all care about, because we all have families in some level. And certainly, even if you don't specifically have them here, we need to care about the next generation, how they're being taken care of here, and more to not count on the government to be able to do this. Because first of all, they're never going to do it as well. I mean, we know that. We know the government's never going to do it as well. We need personalized services. We need parents' involvement, but we also need the community and organizations in the community. And we do that really well here in Colorado Springs. And in some ways we have too many nonprofits here. It's almost like it's like a hobby here, starting a nonprofit, and I'm guilty of it. I've started one here for the isn't it great to, disparage yourself and then say you're taking part in it? But, but ours is really important. It's the Peak News Educational Foundation. We're here to really take the media back through We the People, raise up local people, youth and adults, to be able to be effective, integrous journalists, and then give you this platform, yes, this one, to report on. So as we grow that out, we invite you to take part in that. Go to thepeak.news and check it out. And also, if you're a student, homeschool student, D11, any others, we're going to be teaching in the D11 school system coming up this August for the fall semester, 2025 semester, broadcast journalism, tied into an internship here at the Peak News. Really, really exciting. Going to be a great program, paid for by your tax money, even you homeschoolers. If you're wondering where the money is, well, you can take advantage of it here. And we're going to be teaching ethics and really things that I think everybody needs. I mean, everybody needs to be able to research, critically think, and communicate effectively and ethically. That's a skill for everyone. So send your students to this. And if they want to break into media, they'll have more experience after 1 year, 2 semesters, and I went to journalism broadcasting school, then you'll have from going to a 4-year college, you won't have the debt. So go to thepeak.news, check out the D11 CTE link, and they're enrolling right now. So please get into the course. Looking forward to doing that. Okay, Here for the hour as guest and co-host, Kelly Hurtado, COO of Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families, an organization that centers on empowering individuals to advance a safe, healthy, and flourishing community. So, Kelly, how did you get so passionate about helping children and families in the Pikes Peak region? Are you from here?
So I am a Colorado Springs native.
Really? Okay.
Yep, I graduated from Palmer High School,
Okay.
and then I went on to Colorado State University, and I studied human development and family studies there. I also was the oldest on both sides of my family, the oldest grandchild, and
A lot
you know,
of, lot of pressure.
yeah, I kind of was carrying around kiddos my entire life. So I think that is something that I just was very passionate about from the very beginning. And my schooling just helped me to be able to then break into the field of early childhood.
And what's your professional background?
So I've worked in the field for 25 years and held all sorts of positions. I've worked as a family advocate, as a teacher, and as an administrator. I worked for CPCD Head Start for quite some time and now work for Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families. So I've gone from the classroom all the way to state and federal level work, which has been wonderful.
Okay, so earlier in the program, we talked about cuts to social service programs. We talked about the need in the last segment of getting children under the age of 5 stimulated, educated, because they are learning. In fact, their development is locked in a lot. By the time they're 5, 7 years old, we're basically who we are for life in a lot of ways.
Right.
So, what is going on here in the area that you would consider, because you used this phrase when we were talking before the program, a childcare crisis in our community? What do you mean by that?
So in El Paso County, we have a significant childcare crisis. We're home to Colorado's largest population of children ages 0 to 5. We have around 46,000, and we're
Wow.
growing. And for those 46,000 children, we have just over 17,000 licensed early childcare spots. And so that's enough seats for around 37% of the population. But our estimates are that we need about 17,000 more seats to meet the need. So we're known as a child care desert. And that means that there's really limited access for most families in our community.
And what are the points behind that? What are the real things that we can drill into that are causing the problem?
So unlike the K-12 education system, where there's money coming from federal, state, and local, childcare businesses and nonprofits, they're built on parent fees, right? And so that means that they're having to rely on families to pay for high quality care. And it's a lot of money. It's around $16,000 annually to send your child to childcare.
One child.
One child. And so if you have multiple children in that age bracket, it is competing with the cost of your mortgage, with what you would pay for public university, right? And it really is causing families to have to consider, are they going to be able to work or not?
Now, is it a money issue? Is it a not having enough people who want the jobs? Are the jobs out there to be had if we had people applying?
So there is also a workforce crisis in early childhood. And the reason for that is, number one, it's not viewed all that professionally. However, we know that those are the teachers that are actually making impact when children's brains are the most absorbent.
So
right?
do people see it more as babysitting?
They do.
Yeah,
They
okay.
do, and that's where terms like daycare and that sort of thing come into play. But it is really foundational early education. Unfortunately, what people are paid, the average salary is around $29,500 a year. And so the very professionals that are doing this education are relying on, they're struggling. And it's not an easy field to stay in.
Okay, so how do you suggest we go about solving this issue here, especially with so many people moving here, wanting to have work here, but that competes if you don't have the childcare and you can't have if you're in a situation where you can't have a one income parent so that one can stay home, how do we solve this?
So, what we're seeing across the nation is that communities are needing to come together to develop some sort of local infrastructure to offset the cost of early childhood education. That way, that funding model is not 100% on families. And we can then see businesses thriving and children getting the supports that they need early in life.
And are there programs at the universities here for people to get trained up if they were attracted to do this?
Absolutely. In El Paso County, we have built several apprenticeships, and there's a lot of different ways that people can become involved. In fact, there's scholarships and stipends for those who want to enter the field or get higher qualified.
Okay, so think about that, especially if you're out there and I don't know how quickly the level of income will come up, but there are retirees here. There are
Yes.
people, that from the military that retire early and still have decades of wonderful capabilities and years to share. So maybe this is something that we can get our military people into.
Absolutely.
That would be wonderful. And what great character you have to relate to those young children early in their life. So as we're finishing up, tell us about joint initiatives for youth and families. Overall, what do you do?
So, we are a systems building organization who pulls together all of the players in our local community to make sure that we're doing what's best for early childhood and beyond. I wanted to talk about the family friendly initiative that we are working on, where we have 100 organizations coming together to solve the early childhood crisis. And so we have co-leaders, including Mayor Yemi and Jana Rita Claymire.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's the head of the Chamber of Commerce here in
yes.
Colorado Springs and Economic Development Center. Yeah.
Yes. As well as people from business, education, faith-based organizations, government, healthcare, all coming together to solve the problem. And so we're really making headway. We've been at it for about a year, and we're making headway in about 6 different areas where we're working to solve this crisis.
Well, do you have media people involved?
We do have some media, but we
Okay.
need more.
Okay,
always.
well,
Yes.
okay, count the peak in. We want to know what's
Woohoo!
going on, and we can we can help at least report on what you're doing,
I love that.
and keep you accountable to what we tell the
Yes,
people, because
please do.
we all need that. We want to make sure that you follow through on it. In fact, in the next segment, we're going to be talking about your 5-year strategic plan that you have. But what are some? Could just touch on some of the programs. We have about a minute left. What are some of the programs that you have out there?
Some of the programs that Joint Initiatives has.
Yeah.
We are working to support early childhood programs to increase their quality. We also are the local coordinating organization for the state's universal pre-K program. So we help families find the high quality childcare that they need. And then on the juvenile justice side of our work, youth services, we are helping to ensure that youth and families have access to resources so that there aren't any barriers to their forward progression.
Okay, and their website it's simple, joint, Joint, jointinitiatives.org. And do you take donations? Do people
Yes,
donate
we
to your
do.
organization?
You can donate right there on the website, and we would love for you to be involved in the initiative as well.
And what about
So,
volunteers?
yes, volunteers too.
Okay. Find out more there. When we come back in our final segment with Kelly Hurtado, COO of Joint Initiatives, we're going to be talking about their 5-year strategic plan. You're listening to The Peak, and we'll be right back. Cool. That was very good. I threw some tough stuff at you. You came up with it. It was good. Okay, so this is, I got to get, what's our length? Was that exactly 2.5 for Jim?
2 minutes.
And what's it again? What's the theme?
Like a newer version of kids getting away from, how do I pronounce it?
Marijuana?
Marijuana. Yeah.
So protecting children from
Yes.
protecting,
The newer
okay.
version, I realized that
But why do you say new vision? What do you mean by new?
new version.
Oh, you edited a new version.
Yeah.
Okay. So we hadn't played this before though, or he did another one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another one.
So would you call it protecting children from marijuana? Okay, and
Yeah,
and
I found a white
other
spot onto the
dangerous. Okay.
If you don't know, Jim Miller is the guy. Is just the guy. He is sounding grumpy, which he is.
I know Jim. He ran for mayor and city council. On this, I'm just the guy, but his daughter. His daughter was impacted by sexual abuse, and there were pedophiles moved into the house next to him across from a church, and he's like, "What are these people doing in this neighborhood, and why is this allowed?" And so that's what got him into it. But he's a mechanic. He owns a bunch of businesses, and he has no filter. So if you remember Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes from years ago, he's our grumpy, sarcastic guy that we let finish the program. Yeah. So
so he has a lot of opinions.
yeah, he is right. So some informed, some not, but it's some humor at the end of the program. So
I might get
And
10
he's-
seconds early for the countdown because I need you to have some more time to finish off. So
okay,
for the gym man. Just trying to make
okay,
sure-
but it is 2:30.
Yes.
Okay, but I've been coming in too close, is what you're saying. So you want me to come in a little earlier? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that. Yes. Okay, this is our final segment. So when I give you the wrap up, we have to because I don't have this. This goes to a pre-recorded segment, so I don't
Okay.
have any. As he's been telling me, I've been bringing it a little close, and then it gets cut off at the end. But this has been really good. I hope you're happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun.
Okay. Okay, so we're back in 30 seconds. So, this is only about 4 minutes. So, if you can click through the highlights of the strategic plan and why you think it's important and
Yep.
stuff like that, we'll just cover it.
Okay.
And then we'll see where it goes. So it's just been a year that you've been doing this?
Doing the summit work, the
Okay.
family friendly initiative.
But how long has Joint Initiatives been around?
Since the 80s, actually.
Okay.
Mhm.
I figured that. That was
Yeah.
like, I could. Okay. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to us on Faith and Family Wednesday, and we are talking the whole hour, our final segment now with Kelly Hurtado, COO of Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families, talking about how we as a community, and we just heard in the last segment, 100 organizations coming together. We certainly have a lot of people. We have a lot of resources, but I really applaud you because getting organizations to work together cooperatively is like the impossible thing in this city. I've been trying to do it for a long time. Maybe you have a better demeanor for it than I do. I could learn from you, but I really applaud you, the ability to get them and not just have meetings and talk about it, but to actually get things done. The meetings, we can always have meetings, but actually getting things done on the ground is difficult. So thank you for that, and look forward to being part of what you're doing. So in this final segment, when I was researching you and I saw you have this 5-year strategic plan that's from 2024 to 2029. So give us the highlights. What is your vision for when we get 3-4 years from now, where your organization and more importantly, we as a community are going to be?
Yeah, so we really are looking to remove barriers and fill gaps in our community when it comes to what's accessible to children and families. So, on the early childhood side of things, we've talked about increasing the number of early childhood spots and the quality of those spots. We also would like to see local funding supporting early childhood programs. We want to support that workforce as well. The core of this work is really ensuring that we have family voice as part of that. So if there's anybody out there who is a family member that would like to be involved in this work, we need you. We need you there saying, this is how it impacts my family day in and day out. So please contact us and become part of the work. We also serve children up to age 21. And so we do a lot on the youth services side of our organization too, and actually just opened the Ascend Center, which is in the lower wing of Galileo Middle School, where we have all sorts of services for youth and families, wraparound services, individualized meetings, and organizations refer to us all the time for, any situation where children are a little bit off track and families and professionals may not know what the right next step is, then we bring in the community to surround that child and family to help get them on the right pathway. And then lastly, we're really looking to increase our community engagement. The Family Friendly Initiative is part of that work. And, we are always open to increasing partnerships within the community because we want partners to be singing the same song, right, for children and families. Because we're not only building on what we have today, but we're building our community's future.
So what type of partnerships they with nonprofits, with businesses, with
Yeah.
everybody?
Yes, with anybody who wants to be involved with serving children and families. We have wonderful partnerships. Even I just had somebody reach out to me who runs a car garage, and they're wanting to help families in need, youth in need. We're looking for businesses and developers, for example, to start building in childcare ready spaces within their development plans. It can be, we can be very creative with the partnerships that.
Oh, that's
we make.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, the website for Joint Initiatives is jointinitiatives.org. If you'd like to get involved with your business or organization as a volunteer, individual, to donate, those are all welcome. Final thoughts?
I just am so honored to be part of this community and continue to rally all of us to make a better future for children and families, and am proud of the Pikes Peak region and Colorado Springs.
Okay, Kelly Hurtado, COO of Joint Initiatives for Youth and Families. Thanks so much for being on the Peak.
Thank you.
So in tune with our Faith and Family Day, Jim Miller, just a guy, is talking about how to protect our children from marijuana and other dangers that are here in our community. Jim Miller. If you want to listen, you can put on your...
Marijuana is legal in town.
Thank you, Zach.
I've been hearing a lot of squawking and talking and people mad and angry and upset and worried and concerned. Has to be 1,000 feet from schools, this and that. I'm like, all right, we care about the children. I'm on board. But if the marijuana is going to be 1,000 feet from the schools, the churches, the parks, the daycares, all this and that, where small children congregate, then you know what? I say we need the sex offenders that far away from the schools, the parks, the daycares, and the churches, everywhere where small children congregate as well. We care about the children. We care about the children, not just selectively care on certain topics. I'll say it. I don't want drugs in schools with kids, but for crying out loud, a marijuana plant's not going to run up and grab your child and snatch him up after school or in the middle of class. But one of these gross, disgusting predators will, okay? That doesn't mean I don't want drugs. I want drugs to be in the classrooms. I don't. As a matter of fact, I went because everybody didn't want it in the schools, and I have no idea about any of this stuff anymore. I'm old. I'm from an old apple and soda can era of anything with marijuana transpiring. Okay, for crying out loud, it wasn't even called a bong yet. It was like a water pipe. That was the name of it. I went to the cannabis people. I went to different schools. I went to school board presidents. I went to local political elected officials and stuff. I am starting a whole educational thing, knowledge-based, informational for the staff, the security. Heck, the police officer, liaison officer can be there. And the cannabis people said they don't want it. Their rep and them in town said they do not want it around children. It is for adults 21 and over. No matter what we think on it, you know what? I got to give them credit on that. At least they were like, no, we don't want it around the kids. And here, we want to show you every single product, everything that's for sale. So even if the wrappers change or the packages move or something's going on in it, you can recognize it as a school and a facility to keep it away from the children. Keep it out of the hands of the kids. Not that hard, guys. All right. Remember, you want it better, be better. I'm Jim Miller. I'm just a guy, and this is the Peak Rants on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer. We'll be right back.
That's Jim. I'm sure Jim would love to get involved with you. He's
That'd be wonderful.
He's something to handle. trying to produce him. We just realized give him a topic, let him go, I tried to get him a little more organized and it shut him down. So he just sort of riffs, and sometimes we have to edit. And yeah, so I just have to. When we're back, I just need to close the show, and then if you want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about, we can potentially work together. That'd be
Yeah.
good. And I'll give you a make sure I get you. We have a whole prospectus about the peak, so you can
Okay.
see what we're about and everything. What we're trying to do. I mean, we're on because I work for Salem too, and we're on conservative talk radio, but we're looking to just be news. So we have our base, but we're looking to move toward just center where news is supposed to be. I don't like this
Yeah.
conservative news, liberal, whatever. It's
Right.
where we should just be news.
Right.
But our this is our base, so this is where we start from. But our goal overall is,
Yeah.
especially as we get into the schools and is that this just becomes a broad-based community reporting, actually thinking like a media version of Neighborhood Watch, basically of hey, I want to do school boards, I want to do business, I want to, and it's just deputize people to go out, make sure that they have a level of training. We've done a citizen journalist course here, just a 4-night thing over a month to get people just with the basics, and then send them out and say file a report. And
Yeah.
we know it's sort of clunky. It's not going to be perfect at the beginning, but the polished form of media has failed.
Yep.
Yep. And so I don't know how well this will work, but I know that one isn't working, and I think that putting things back into the hands of the people of a local community is where it needs to be. And then we can export this around the country. Then we can actually have a network to report from other places, but everybody is being held accountable by their own community, so we can know that it's reliable information. And I think somewhere between professional journalism and influencers and activists, there's something in the middle that we can do, and then police each other. And every day, it's hard to not editorialize. But then again, it shouldn't be sterile, because facts are not, all the same. Information isn't all the same. There are some ideas that are good and some that are crazy, and so this thing of you can't really be neutral. But what are the things that journalism is supposed to highlight, comment on? What does it mean to report in a fair way? We're sort of rediscovering it, because it's sort of become, unfortunately, a lost art.
Yes.
Okay, I just have 2 minutes and then I'll be done. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of The Peak. Please spread the word. We're hearing a lot that people know we're here and that you're listening to us. We'd love to hear from you more on our website or make comments. We stream out over social media. And so we're, on YouTube and on Facebook every day. You can see behind the scenes here in the booth. Well, we really invite you to join us here as a citizen journalist or a tech, as a sponsor, as a guest. Find out all about that on our website, thepeak.news, as well as all of our sponsors. Please patronize them and, let them be even happier about their involvement with The Peak. And as we've mentioned before, and this is really, really big, we're going to be teaching broadcast journalism at Wasson Campus D11 starting in the fall, in August, actually. And if you're a student or a parent who would like to be part of this program, please go on our website, thepeak.news, look at the D11 CTE link for career technical education, and even college credit with the course, which is really cool. So check that out and join us soon. Tomorrow is Thursday, Education and Media Thursday, and we have as our guest Colleen Enos, who's the Legislative Liaison and Director of Government Relations for the Christian Home Educators of Colorado, and we're going to be talking about homeschooling and Christian schooling in Colorado and legislation regarding that. On Fridays, we get a break, but Dirk Hobbs is here with the Business Digest Weekly. Coming up next here on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer is the Larry Elder Show, so stick around for that. And also, we have like 230, pushing 240 podcasts that we've done since we launched about a year and a half ago. So check those out on our podcast page on The Peak. The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud, and with your help, we're saying it even louder every day for such a time as this. We'll see you tomorrow. Shalom.